When I wanted to talk about my mothering issue, everyone shut me down. Family members, all they would say to me is, your mother is your mother. She's always going to be your mother. And I'm like, hello, excuse me, I know this. I know this information. She's always going to be my mother. I only have one. I know this. Thank you so much. But what do I do with the fact that I don't have a relationship with her? I have an abandonment issue. Today, we are going to talk about shame. That shame that we feel because we were abandoned, because no one took the time to invest in us. According to Dr. Whitfield, shame is the uncomfortable or painful feeling that we experience when we realize that a part of us is defective, bad, incomplete, rotten, phony, inadequate, or a failure. It's when we grow up feeling inferior and unloved. I have experienced all of these feelings. I know them too well, because shame comes from negative messages passed on to us from our family members, like affirmations, beliefs, and rules that we heard when we were growing up. We were told that we are not enough. I can tell you that when I was growing up, when I came to America, I was a youngin', and my mother, I went to visit my mother. I think for the first time, we were going to a grocery store. And my mother said to me, listen, I don't want you to walk too close to me. And if anyone asks who you are, I want you to tell them that you are my sister. You're my younger sister. And I was like, but why? She said, just say that. I'm telling you, just say that. And she would never acknowledge me where we would go. She would never introduce me to anyone. She did not want me being too close to her. And at the age of 14, I started feeling like something was wrong with me. Like, but why doesn't my mother want me to walk too close to her when we're going to the store? Why doesn't she want people to know that I am her child? So a lot of times when she and I would be in the house, my father kept taking us over there to see her. I don't know why he did that. But anyway, when we kept going over there to spend time with her, she would say something like, why do you look like that? Or she would say something like, sometimes I'm not sure if I gave birth to you, It's like she was questioning, like I did not look like I was good enough to be her child. And when I was 19 years old, she said that to me. She finally said that to me. When I was 19 years old, my father and her had an issue, and my father wanted to confront her regarding the issue that he had with her. And it had everything to do with my brother. I was in college. I came on a break and I went with my father, I guess as a support system. And I don't know how the whole situation ended up being about me. My mother and my father were arguing about my brother. And I said to my mother, I don't think what you've been doing to my brother is fair. My mother turns towards me. And the next thing I know, I became the problem. She said to me, look at you. You're not even fit to be my child. Then she grabbed my younger sister and she said, this is my child. This is my child. You are not my child. You are not fit. You don't even look like you could be my child, And I was like, oh. So all the things that you've been saying, you not wanting me to walk too close to you, I need to breathe. You not letting people know that I am your child. You finally said it. You don't think that I am good enough to be your child. But the surprise here is, I am your child. You gave birth to me. I don't know what to tell you. And I think I just shut down. I literally just shut down because it's one thing when she has been treating me bad, But it's a whole nother thing now when she's actually saying it to me, looking me in my eyes and saying these things. And as a youngin, I felt such a disconnection from my mother's side. I just could not connect with them. I don't know why. And I kept trying. I kept going out trying to connect with them. And it just could not work. And when I became an adult, I had a disagreement with my uncle. My grandmother was living with me and something was going wrong. And so my uncle got involved. And when he got involved, he said to me, if your mother had not decided to carry out your pregnancy, my family will still be together. I can still remember where I was when he said that to me. A part of me died that day because it's like he was wishing that my mother had aborted my pregnancy. And I was like, what am I supposed to do here? I did not ask to come here. And so the reason why he said that is because when my grandmother and my grandfather separated, my grandmother used me as the gateway. My grandfather requested that as a kid, when I was like 1, 2 years old, that I don't ever come to his house. He never wanted to see me. And so my grandmother decided to bring me to the house anyway. I was like 2 years old, my grandmother said. My grandmother told me the story. So I was sick. I was a kid. I was sick. And my grandfather did not want me in the house. My grandmother had me in the house and I started coughing. At 2 years old, my grandfather heard me coughing. And because of that, he asked my grandmother to leave the house because he did not want me in the house. And here I am in the house. And it was 12 o'clock at night. He asked my grandmother to leave the house and to live with me. He never wanted to see me. And when my grandmother left the house that day, she never was accepted back into the house. And because of that, my mother's family, they have been holding this over my head without me even knowing that they blamed me for my grandfather and my grandmother separating. All this time, I did not know why we could not bond, why there was absolutely no connection. And that came from when my uncle said that to me. Everything, the whole puzzle fit. Everything came together. And I finally understood why why I could not bond with any of my family members. It made sense. So I kept walking around with this shame inside of me, like something was wrong with me. Like, I kept walking around feeling like I was bad. And when my uncle said that to me, my grandmother said even worse things after that. I had a conversation with my grandmother. I can feel her hatred towards me. And she confirmed that. She even said it to me again. While she was living in my house, she felt this way about me the whole time she was living in my house. She felt like I destroyed her marriage. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And I just became even more lost. I became lost and broken and just, confused. I was like, okay, what is my next step? What am I supposed to do from here? Who am I supposed to connect with? Who am I supposed to bond with now? Because now I know that this is what they think of me. And I decided from that day, I never want to have a relationship with someone that thinks that way of me, someone that wished that I wasn't even here. So, we are going to talk about how you can handle your shame. But first, let's talk about what Lynn Namka said. Is that to have such an unmet need for support and response is in itself a source of shame. And that is what I had. Babies that are born with shame, harsh, critical parental behavior, they produce shame-prone children. Shaming and blaming me gave me the feeling of abandonment and self-hatred. So what I did with my shame, I kind of like went into this spiral where I became very hateful towards myself. I was angry. I was mad a lot. I neglected myself. I withdrew myself from social activities because shame is like depression. I had a lot of regrets, despair. I was hurting so much, and I was embarrassed of myself that I did not know what to do. So some of these things I did. And some people turn to alcohol, drugs. They start attacking other people, start bullying other people. They start blaming other people. Another thing that I had is compulsive behavior. I had that, where I wanted to fix and make everything right. I had anxiety if things were not right, you know? And for male, what they have is that macho behavior, that rage, controlling behavior. And I am glad that I decided to do something about it. People don't understand how bad this mothering issue is. When you don't have that connection with your mother, how it can affect you. To get rid of shame, you have to learn what shame is. You cannot get rid of shame without knowing. You have to recognize it, learn what it is. And the first thing you have to do to get rid of shame, according to psychology today, is to bring it to light. You have to bring it to light. The less you talk about it, the more powerful it is. And for me, I decided to talk about it because then you take the power away. When you talk about it, you realize you're not the only one that is dealing with this problem. So talk about it. The second thing to get rid of shame is untangle what you are feeling. Because sometimes shame and guilt are almost alike. But the thing is, it's not the same, because shame means that you are bad and guilt means that you do something bad. So when you feel guilty, that is relating to your behavior and you feel like you can change it. But when you feel shame, again, we're talking about you feel defective. You feel like you cannot change that. So untangling what you are feeling can lead you to healing. The third thing here is recognize your triggers. For me, being around my mother's family, that is a trigger for me, because I am not in a safe place